Hi, this is Stephen Fleener with the Visual Non-Glossary, and I'm really excited to be telling you about the 5-minute lesson plan. This is a very quick, easy, and efficient way to plan an engaging, language-rich lesson that has students interacting with their peers, collaborating and practicing using academic vocabulary words in context, and it's a really simple way to plan a lesson. You can think of it as a skeleton lesson plan, and you might want to add activities to your lesson, or you can think of it as a full lesson plan in and of itself, especially later on in the school year on those particularly stressful days when you just want to be able to efficiently plan a lesson that's going to have students engaged and interacting using vocabulary. This is your go-to resource. So if you go to the visualnonglossary.com website, you can click on the link Strategies and Resources, and then there's a green box that says the 5-minute lesson plan. Click on this box and you'll notice some text. This text is essentially just describing what we're doing in this video. So for now I want you to look at this link, click here to download the lesson plan template. This is a PowerPoint file that you can download onto your computer and you can use any day of the school year. In fact, I recommend using it every day of the school year. So I'm going to make a copy of this template and I'm going to paste it and rename the copy Today's Lesson, and we're going to plan out a lesson real quickly right now. Now, in order to plan out this lesson, you need to have the Visual Non-Glossary website, you need to have the lesson plan template, and the only other thing that you need is a single word, a word that you really want your students to learn in this lesson. Let's say I'm an earth sciences teacher, and I really want to plan a lesson in which the students have a really strong understanding by the end of the lesson of the word cementation. Now, I can go to the Visual Non-Glossary homepage and search for the word cementation, or I can go to word lists, and this is particularly helpful if I want to filter by course or by standard. Let me search for this word cementation, and I'm going to pull up the visual for cementation. When I click on this link, it asks me to sign in, of course, with my username and password, and as soon as I sign in, I can access this visual. So here's how you plan the lesson. You take this image, and you either drag and drop or copy and paste. I'm going to drag and drop this image into my PowerPoint file, and I'm going to resize the image so that it fits real nicely into this box. And you can see that the green arrow on this first slide is aligned with the first question on this image. That's because I'm going to be asking my students this observational question. Now, every single visual comes with 3 guiding questions, and in this lesson, I want to be able to ask my students all 3 of these guiding questions. So I'm going to copy this image, and I'm going to paste it on slide 3 and slide 5. And you can see that when I paste on these slides, the green arrow moves down, so the green arrow aligns to that specific question that I'm going to be asking the students. Simple as that. Now I can think to myself, well, the observational question on slide 1, the students are going to be able to answer this question simply by looking at the visual. But this relational question, to answer this relational question, they need to also know the word compaction. And compaction is labeled on this visual, but I might think to myself, maybe they need to have some more learning about the word compaction before they're able to answer this question. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the Visual Non-Glossary website, and I'm going to find the word for compaction, and I'm going to copy and paste that visual into slide number 2. So go back to the Visual Non-Glossary website, search for compaction, and I'm going to find the visual, and I'm going to drag and drop it or copy and paste it back in here on slide 2. I'm going to resize it so that it fits real nicely into the box. And now what you can see is we're going to first ask our students the observational question for cementation, meaning the students will look at the visual of cementation and describe what they see. Then we will have the students answer the observational question of compaction, meaning they will look at the compaction visual and they'll describe what they see. And in both instances, they can use the sentence stem that will have them use that vocabulary word in context. Then we're going to have them come back to the cementation visual so we can ask them the question, how is cementation different from compaction? Now, on the last question, the inferential question, we might have a similar thinking, because the inferential question, or the last question, often also depends on other vocabulary words. In this case, this question depends on the student understanding the word cementation and understanding the word sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock is labeled here, but maybe we want to have our students have a more detailed understanding of the word sedimentary rock. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the Visual Non-Glossary website. I'm going to find the sedimentary rock image, and I'm going to copy and paste it in here on slide number 5, discussion question number 4. So back on the Visual Non-Glossary website, I'm going to search for sedimentary rock, and I'm going to find the visual, and I'm going to drag it and drop it right onto this page, resize so it fits nicely into the box, and voila. Now I have an observational question for the word cementation, an observational question for the word compaction, a relational question, the higher level Bloom's taxonomy, comparing cementation and compaction. Then I'm going to ask an observational question for the word sedimentary rock. And finally, a question at the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, at this inferential level. Students are going to be describing what sedimentary rocks would look like if cementation did not occur. So this is going to synthesize their learning of the word cementation. Now you might notice that slide 4 is blank. And slide 4 and slide 3 are perhaps interchangeable. You might want to use slide 3 or you might want to use slide 4. The reason why you would want to use slide 4 instead of slide 3 is if the relational question that comes with this word is comparing two things that are not in the same image. This cementation visual, it has the word compaction in it, but it doesn't describe the word compaction in detail. So maybe what I want to do is I want to have the cementation visual and the compaction visual right next to each other. So I can do that in slide 4. First thing I'm going to do in slide 4 is I'm going to type out the question and the sentence stem that I want the students to address. In this case, the relational question is, how is cementation different from compaction? So I'll type that out right here. How is cementation different from compaction? And then the sentence stem is, cementation is different from compaction because. So I'll type that right here. Cementation is different from compaction because. Now all I need to do is bring in the two visuals for cementation and compaction, but I'm not going to want to have all this extra text, these extra questions. I just want the image itself. So I can go back to the Visual Non-Glossary website. I can search for the word cementation, and this time I'm going to click, instead of with guiding questions, I'm going to click this link without guiding questions. That gives me just the image without any guiding questions. I can drag and drop this back into the PowerPoint template, resize this so it fits real nicely in this box, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with the word compaction. And again, I'm not going to click on with guiding questions, I'm going to click on without guiding questions, and I'm going to drag and drop this image into this box. Alright, so now we've got these two images, cementation and compaction. This means we don't really need slide 3 anymore, so I'm just going to hide this slide, and now when the students look at the relational question for cementation, they're going to see this question right here and the sentence stem right here, and they're going to be able to compare cementation and compaction. Now, you might notice one other thing in this template, and that is that there are signal, share, and assess instructions to fill out on each slide. This is the QSSA process: question, signal, sentence stem, share, and assess. And what we can do is we can specify exactly what signal the students are going to give to show that they're ready, who they're going to share with, and who's going to go first in the group, and how long they're going to be sharing, and then how we're going to be assessing. So I'll start with the signal. This first signal, I want to have students raising their hand and then lowering it when they're ready. The second time I have them give me a signal, I think I'm going to have them put their thumb up and bring their thumb down when they're ready to share. The fourth time, I think I'm going to have my students stand up and sit down when they're ready. For the next question, I'm going to have my students, let's say, open their book and close it when they're ready. And for the last question, I think I'm just going to have them raise their hand and lower their hand again when they're ready. Now you'll notice the second thing is the share. So we can specify for how long we want our students to share, who's going to go first, and who they're going to share with. I'm going to say that I want my students in this first question to share with their partner for 90 seconds. And I'm going to say the person closest to the door is going to go first. And I'm going to have them share just with the person right next to them, their elbow partner. In the second question, I'm going to have the student share for 1 minute. I'm going to have the person closest to the window go first. And again, I'm going to have them share with their elbow partner. In the third question, I think I'm going to have my students, this is a little bit deeper question, so I'm going to have my students share for 3 minutes. And they're going to be sharing with their table group. And person number 1 in the table group is going to go first. In the fifth question, I'm going to have my students share with an away partner. This is another student in the room that's previously determined to be a partner that they can share with whenever I say go find your away partner. I'm going to have them share for 1 minute, let's say, and I'll say the person with the longest hair goes first. And then lastly, I'm going to have the students share with their table group again, and I'm going to say person number 2 in that group is going to go first, and I'm going to have them share for 3 minutes, let's say. Now, that's the share and the signal. The last thing we need to plan out is the assess. And the assess, I like to say 9 times out of 10, it's as simply as randomly calling on 2 students. If I call on 2 students, that gives me a sample of the room. And after those 2 students have shared, I can ask if anyone else has anything else they want to add, or I can address any misconceptions, or I can add any details that my students might not have shared. So I'm going to have 2 students share here. I'm going to have 2 students share here. I'm going to have 2 students share on the second to last question. On this middle question, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to have person number 4 from each group is going to share in front of the whole class. So I'll have 5 or 6 students sharing in that scenario. And then on the last question, since this is the last question, I'm actually going to make this my exit ticket question. So instead of calling on a student afterwards, I'm going to have a student write out his or her response and turn that in. There we go. I have now got a lesson plan that is a very rich lesson. It has the students using a lot of key academic vocabulary and context, and it's very, very simple to plan. All I'm going to do is I'm going to present the question to the students. I'm going to have them give me a signal when they're ready to answer the question. I'm going to have them share with a partner or with a group using these instructions, using the sentence stem, and then I'm going to call on a couple of students and address any misconceptions, or I'm going to add anything to that if I feel the need, and then I'm going to ask them 4 more questions. And I'm going to do the same process every time I ask the students a question, and they are going to learn a lot, feel very confident, and they're going to be very excited to share this lesson. So I hope you're as bought into this as I am. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.